It's 1st of September and school starts this week for most kids in Halifax. So the time is nigh to put some thought into making better school lunches. Our next guest has some fresh ideas for fueling up your loved ones. Please welcome Wendy McCallum, food coach and educator. Thanks for coming in, Wendy.
Thanks for having me.
We had a big, wonderful talk yesterday about school lunches. And first of all, my question to you is, what does a child actually need in their lunch?
Yeah, that's a great question. Really, it's not that complicated. In my house, the rule is always one fruit and one veggie, and I think that's a really great place to start with your kids. So if you've got children that are just starting this year, make that your kind of fundamental rule and then go from there. You also need to make sure you have some protein in there to keep them full, and it's usually a good idea to throw something that's whole grain in there and maybe a little healthy fat if you can figure out how to get it in.
All right, so let's take a look at a lunch that's working. Fruit and a vegetable, not
right.
Fruit or vegetable, fruit and a vegetable. So let's take a peeky here. You got
right. So in this lunch, I've got an apple and I've got some cut up raw veggies here, some peas and some peppers and cucumbers and carrots. And then in the thermos, you can put just about anything, but you can have hot soup or chili, that kind of thing in there as well.
Okay, what counts as a protein?
Oh, there's lots of different options for proteins in lunches, and we tend to get a bit bogged down. We always put the same thing in there. It's usually meat in the sandwich, but you can use things like I've got some cut up chicken in this little deli box over here, hard-boiled eggs, or like I said, you can use something in a chili or a soup or stew. So if you have something with some beans in it, as in the case of the chili, or maybe some chicken in a soup.
Okay. Does Greek yogurt count as a protein?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Your best bet with Greek yogurt, though, is to stay away from the pre-sweetened ones and use a plain Greek yogurt and sweeten it yourself. So I'll put like a Greek yogurt in my kids' lunch that's plain with a little drizzle of honey and maybe some homemade granola with seeds and no nuts in it.
Okay. And cheese, is that a protein?
You can use cheese as a protein, yeah.
Okay, good. All right. You've got this little deli box going, and I know that it's popular. My kids are constantly begging me to buy these prefab deli things from the grocery store, and I won't cave. But this looks a lot healthier. Is this sort of the idea of those little prepackaged deli things?
Yeah, I think those are really convenient for parents, but if you look at the back of those packages, you're going to see a whole bunch of ingredients you can't pronounce.
Okay.
They're usually higher in sodium and some of the more unhealthy additives. So this is just a really easy way to do that yourself. You can buy one of these boxes. You can also just use a lunch kit like I have here and use separate little containers.
The box is fun, though.
The box is fun. These are great for little kids. I find once they get, mine are 11 and 12, and it's just not enough room for food for them anymore, but these are really great for kids starting out. Also, they keep the food separate. If you have someone who's a little more selective and picky in their eating, then sometimes having stuff that's not touching can be helpful, and they're colorful and fun. So kids are obviously more excited about a lunch if it looks good.
This has a little bit of teeny weeny muffins in there. Would that be what you call a treat?
Yeah, that's kind of a combination of a whole grain and a treat. Those are homemade banana muffins made with whole grains, so they're kind of a combination. They're a healthy treat, but they kind of fill that that complex carb or good carbohydrate category.
So your whole grain as well. It's kind of hitting two buttons.
Yeah.
You've got also treats as well. We had a chat yesterday about treats. Is it okay to put a little treat in the kids' lunch every day?
You can put a treat in the lunchbox every day, but honestly, if you're just starting out, I think it's a great idea to make it your policy that it's not in there all the time. So for my kids, they don't know if it's going to be there or not, so they're excited when it's there. There's really no need to have a treat every day. And so if you are putting a treat in there, make sure that what you're putting in there is better quality. So making your own things and freezing them is a great idea. And you can just have, a bag of frozen, pre-wrapped stuff in your freezer, throw it in. Usually you don't even need to defrost it. By the time the kids go to eat it, it's defrosted on its own in the lunchbox.
Perfect. So yeah, I think that prepping, we were talking about that yesterday as well, like having a little forethought to buy the healthy things, make the healthy things, and kind of put them in the freezer, get them all ready.
Yeah, no, the prepping is totally key. If you're not organized for school lunches, first of all, when you go to the grocery store, you won't buy anything that you need to go in school lunches.
Yeah.
And really, the key to not having to rely on those processed convenient foods as much is to make stuff in advance and have it frozen.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Save money, too. Okay, my last question, we've only got about a minute, is many times I've spent the time and the money to have these healthy lunches, and they come back and there is not one bite taken out of anything.
Yes, that's a common frustration, happens all the time, especially with younger kids starting out at school. For those parents out there who have kids that are starting in primary this year, you should know that they don't get very much time to eat. It's an adjustment for most young kids. They also don't have someone standing over them telling them to eat, which is also not usual for most of them. And they have to open new containers, which a lot of them aren't good at. So a couple things you can do to increase the likelihood that your child's going to eat their lunch. First of all, encourage them. So be positive about it. Tell them why it matters that they eat lunch. Give them containers they can open, or practice opening containers before they start school.
Good.
And the other thing we tend to do as parents is if they're not eating their lunch, we put everything we can think of in there, and when they open up their lunchbox, they're totally overwhelmed. So that backfires. Your better bet is to cut back a little. So if you've been giving them a full sandwich, maybe just give them a half for a while. You want to have an opportunity for them to succeed at their school lunch, so you can praise them and just kind of build off of that.
And you told me that you have your kids, if they come home with uneaten food, they eat that first, then they go play when they get
You
home from
bet.
school.
If I put the time and effort into making a balanced lunch, or they put the time and effort into making their own balanced lunch, I think it's really important that it gets eaten. So the rule is always when they get home, they finish that up, or before their first activity, it gets eaten.
All right, Wendy, thanks so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks
you
for
can
having
get
me.
more tips from Wendy and find out how you can find her on social media and online, simplebalance.ca.